Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 222. Yes, 222 of the Terminal City FC podcast, part of the Area 51 Sports Network. Josh Ray joined alongside Nathan Durek as per usual. The Vancouver Whitecaps remain undefeated on the season and another clean sheet with a pretty dominating 3-0 win over Toronto FC last weekend.
Yeah, they just kind of keep steaming along, don't they? That first half of football was one of the better halves I think that we've seen. Probably the best half of football that we've seen from the Whitecaps this season so far.
Yep.
It was dominant in possession. It was fluid. We're starting to see those movements that we saw last year. AZ is really starting to embed himself within this lineup. Obviously, he plays differently than his predecessors in that role. He spent a lot more time cutting inside, but it's working for him. He's finding channels, he's finding space, and he's making things happen. And then, guys that have been here for a while and the young and the kids. How much more can we talk about Javine Badwal?
Yeah, playing on the right wing, did pretty well. Very creative once again. Taking on defenders. Obviously, more noticeable when he's in the midfield, but he did well.
Yeah, it's definitely not his preferred position. But when we talked to him after the game, a lot of what he is and a lot of what he says reminds me of Sebastian Berhalter from about 3 seasons ago, where nobody knew what Berhalter was. Is he a right back? Is he an 8? Is he a 6? That's Javine Badwal right now. In 4 matches, he's played 3 different positions. He's covered the midfield. He's played on the right. And he just wants to be on the pitch. He'll figure it out afterwards. Yes, he's more effective in certain areas, but it's nice to see that he's willing to step up. I don't think that's going to be the case as time goes on. Cheka Sabali is now ready to go. Bruno Caicedo is in training. Once those 2 guys get up to speed, there's going to be more options for those wings. And I think at that point, Javine's going to be able to kind of solidify what sort of player he is, where he's most comfortable, and then grow from there.
Yeah, and I asked him about playing in multiple positions after the game, and he said that definitely experiences, but he thinks of himself as a player who can play different roles, and thanks to Jesper Sorensen and his teammates, he has the confidence.
Yeah. I think for as good as the Whitecaps were, we need to talk about how poor
Toronto FC stunk.
The game was so bad that what was it? So one of their players after the game actually put out a public apology to their fans, especially in particular because of that first half. Most notable was their defensive gaps. Walker Zimmerman is not the defender of the year that he once was. He understands the game. He reads the game. He doesn't have the speed of the game. He was responsible for the penalty.
Yep.
By bringing down AZ. And time and time again, not just Zimmerman, but the entire back line. And you can also talk with Gavrin in terms of as the goalkeeper, they were caught out on set pieces. 2 goals. Whitecaps came on off corners.
Off corners, yep. Thomas Muller got the first one on the penalty kick. Then the second one, great flick by Laborda.
Yep.
And Thomas Muller is open and he taps it in. Third one, their goalkeeper, Luke Gavrin. I don't know, he tried to be Superman or something, but that was a terrible attempt at punching the ball.
Yeah.
And the defenders just stood still, and Brian White got his first of the season.
One thing is interesting is both those goals came off second phases, the corner kicks. And I think it just shows that this is an area where I think Whitecaps are going to be strong. Now, I know that there's been criticism in other leagues about the rise of set pieces. We talk about like what's going on in England and how you've got, people like Arne Slot basically calling it a detriment to the game. But I think right now this is something that's very, very strong in the toolkit for the Whitecaps, especially when you have a guy like Berhalter that's taking these set pieces, who in all likelihood is going to be the guy taking it for the men's national team in the United States come World Cup.
Yeah, and his stock continues to rise. But the Whitecaps were much more fluid in attack. They were creating more chances, and compared to the past few games, actually creating high danger chances. And of course, finishing them. And Toronto FC, when they broke out, nothing, almost nothing, except for a couple chances in the second half. But
most of
pretty
it
much
was
nothing.
chopped down in the midfield before they even got to the halfway line. In the second half, there were a few more opportunities, but that's when the Whitecaps and Jesper talked about this a little bit, where they started making a few changes and you started having a few line or combinations on the pitch of players that haven't really played together yet. So obviously there are going to be a few more gaps as you're trying to learn where, you know, your teammate is and what they're doing and, you know, kind of learn their little idiosyncrasies. I'm not worried about it at that point. Like I was even thinking, like once you get towards the 80-minute mark, I almost kind of want to see some of the kids going out there, like Jojovic and things like that. Obviously, you still have a lot of players that are trying to vie for time, 4 games into the season throughout all competitions. So I'm not too worried about that. I think the first half it was done and dusted, and at that point you're just rotating.
Yeah, and Yohei Takaoka did well when he was called upon. He really hasn't had a busy season so far.
He's had 4 shots on target in 4 games. It's kind of an odd stat, and it just shows you how strong the Whitecaps are defensively because Yohei is able to deal with whatever's coming to him, but not a lot is coming to him in the first place. There's a lot of teams that have more goals against than the shots on target. If they're only averaging 1 shot on target, most teams have more than 1 goal against.
Yeah, and Ralph Priso and Tristan Blackman doing well as center backs on the back line. Ralph Priso continues to grow. He made that really good like back check or run to stop a TFC chance in the first half or second half rather. Excuse me. And it just, I guess his speed is something that really isn't talked about.
His speed, and the other thing, and we have talked about it a little bit, but I think you can put Tristan Blackman in this case, is how they're both ball-playing center backs. Yeah. They're both good with their feet, and it's something we've known about Tristan a lot. I mean, he has a lot of those killer passes that come through, but Priso, coming from a defensive midfield position, that's something that's he kind of has in his toolkit as well. The speed as well, you are right. It's something we know, Blackman does like to get up when the chance permits, but that's something that Ralph has the ability to do as well. You're going to want to make sure that both players understand each other and know when to go up, when to come down, because you can't have both go up. It would be that would be a little bit harrowing, but so far it's looked well.
Yeah, and with Ranko Veselinovic and Bilal Halbouni out, hope those two can stay healthy as possible. And yeah, just a really solid performance all around. Should mention Brian White is now the second all-time leading scorer in Whitecaps history across all competitions, across all incarnations. So that includes every team dating back to 74.
Yeah,
behind the late Dominic Babilio's 170 goals. So White has 80 goals.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
It's one of those things that I think is special to him. It's something that when he came to the Whitecaps, I don't think he ever expected, because he came in as the pickup guy, right? He fought to make that position his own. So I think it's something that's very well deserved.
Yeah, Thomas Muller, 11 goals in 17 appearances across all competitions since becoming a Whitecap.
Yeah. Keep it up. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I mean, he was a pretty good signing, to say the least. Yeah, and just solid performance against a really bad Toronto FC team. Whitecaps also had the highest attendance of all MLS home teams last week.
24,533, I believe was the number.
Yeah, good on the club. I guess you can call it a mini step towards revenue.
Of the 30 or 40 there is, yeah.
And also mentioned that Sheikh Sabali came off the bench. Did look pretty rusty at times because, he hasn't played in a bit, but we'll see him get more minutes for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that, especially when you look at the fact of how well he did getting his team in France, FC Metz, promoted to Ligue 1.
Yeah,
16 goal contributions in that promotion year. That's nothing to sniff at. Or
yeah,
sorry, not 16, 19 goal contributions, I believe it was.
yeah. That's nothing to sniff
No.
at all. It was one-way traffic throughout the whole game. It felt like the Whitecaps could have piled on more, but you take a 3-0 any day of the week.
I think the one thing you have to realize, this is a Toronto FC that's undergoing a lot of change. Bringing in Mihalovic is a great addition. They're bringing in, obviously, everyone knows about Josh Sargent coming in, Zimmerman, who signed on a free. There's a few other players. They're a project right now, and it's very early days in that project. I mean, obviously, Sargent didn't even make the trip because he just officially finished his signing, I think, a couple of days prior to the match. The one thing that scares me is there is so much defensive work to do on this team, and their signings haven't really been defensive in mind other than Zimmerman. There is rumors that they are looking for a defensive midfielder from South America. Have to wait and see if that happens. Obviously, the window for MLS stays open for a little bit longer, but it's going to take a lot of work for Robin Fraser and his coaching staff to get all these players playing together. Because if you're still signing players and you have no preseason to kind of get these players to gel, it means you're using competitive matches to do it. And you really don't want to be in that position. They've kind of put themselves in that position. And that's nothing against the players and the coaching staff. That's on their front office, the recruitment and all that.
Yeah, and if Josh Sargent comes in, he could score 20 goals, but they have to keep balls out of the net because Toronto FC's defense just looked so poor against the Whitecaps. Walker Zimmerman would have been a great signing 3-4 years ago, but he's turning 33 this year, and it looks like his legs are starting to give out.
And the thing is if Toronto plays like they did, there's nothing Josh Sargent can do.
And Robin
because he's not going to get service.
He's on a short leash because if they don't turn this thing around by the summer, he's gone.
I think he's on a very short leash. He's one of those names that I put up there as, it's the seat. The season started with a warm seat. He's on there. Phil Neville's on there. I would have said Greg Vanney, but I think he's done enough to.
Galaxy are doing pretty well to start.
Yeah, season. I think he's doing all right. And I gotta say, with the fanfare of the return of Tata Martinez at Atlanta, I think a lot of people are expecting something instantaneous as well.
Yeah, but they haven't been off to the greatest start either. No. So at least we know Jesper Sorensen, his job is safe, and he has done a pretty good job throughout his Whitecaps tenure. And
that contract extension, I think, is a dead giveaway too.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's confident in the guy. Front offices are, players are, fans are, media are. So nothing to worry about when it comes to Jesper Sorensen. And he and his men will travel to Portland this weekend for their first MLS away game to take on the Timbers. Last 2 seasons, the Whitecaps have won big there. And Portland last week lost to Colorado Rapids 2-0 in Colorado. And when we're speaking of coaches on a short leash with a hot seats, Phil Neville is definitely one of them.
Yeah. Again, remember, it was one of those surprised. There was a lot of animosity when he signed in. Like, he even had to have meetings with supporters groups because a lot of people were anxious, to put it mildly, about his team when he was coaching the national women's team in England. I can't get a read on Portland. I don't know what to tell you. I do wonder if they made the right decision on keeping the right goalkeeper.
Yeah,
we'll have to wait and see.
Portland, I'm just looking here. They did win their opening game 3-2 against Columbus, but thanks to a late goal by Ariel Lassiter. This is a team that I think been projected to be middle of the pack, maybe fifth or sixth. And Portland's set piece defending against Colorado was just as bad as Toronto FC's, if not worse.
Yeah.
So, given how good the Whitecaps have been on set pieces, that's one thing to really take advantage of.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. Like we said, it's something that works very well so far for the Whitecaps. So if they can take advantage of it in any game they see it, I think they're going to look at it as an advantage in any game.
Yeah. And Portland obviously want to work on their set pieces because I think both goals that they gave up against Colorado were a result of set pieces.
There you go.
And I'm just looking here. Yeah, they're a team with question marks, Portland.
Yeah.
About how are they going to do? Is Phil Neville going to keep his job by the end of the career? Obviously, Whitecaps got to watch out for guys like Felipe Moore, Anthony, David DaCosta. And even they have their new midfielder, Cole Bassett from Colorado. And, of course, can't forget the Canadian international, Kamal Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Who's fighting for a World Cup spot?
Yeah. I'd say he's probably on the outer side of the fringes, but he's still there.
Yeah, and yeah, we mentioned goalkeeper James Pantemis. Yeah, they let Max Crepeau go to keep him. It's not like Crepeau was playing much anyway. So
no, they had kind of made their decision beforehand.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that pans out.
7:30 this weekend, Saturday actually.
Yeah, first away match in MLS.
Yeah, Whitecaps last time they were there was opening day last season, where Jaden Nelson had his masterclass.
Right,
that 4-1 win, I believe, and then before that, we all know the famous home away from home playoff game, wild card game.
At 5-0.
Yeah, and Portland, they were here, with a 1-1 draw in September, so should be a good one. Hopefully the Whitecaps can get another win and gotta love Cascadia.
Absolutely. One good thing about the Whitecaps is it does look like they're starting to get healthier right now. This comes by way of a friend of the show, Har. With Daily Hive, talking about how Ryan Gaulden's back in the gym. Both Sean Lau and Halbuni are doing light work now. There's been a lot of talk about Sean Lau and his knee, and when are we finally going to see this guy? But he is back doing light work. You've got Sam Anakube and Ranko Veselinovic in partial training. They're actually out there. So that is very good to see. And Cabrera is back doing light work and running laps. So all players on that injury list are moving. There's still going to be some time for them, but it's slowly coming back.
Yeah. Sean Law, we still haven't seen him. Like this guy, since he signed, just hasn't played a game for the Whitecaps and has been injured since. Week to week, Har says.
Yeah.
Kenji day to day. So, will we ever see Sebastian Schonlau? That's the thing.
That's a bit of a question. I don't know.
So, Whitecaps Portland this weekend, and hopefully they can keep the good start of the season going. And stupid news, the Whitecaps had that class action lawsuit where that fan who was ticked off that Messi and his friends didn't show up when Inter Miami were here in 2024. So the BC Supreme Court approved the settlement in the class action lawsuit against the Whitecaps and MLS, collectively paying a total of $450,000, and payment will go to 3 charities.
So this actually was a class action lawsuit. I think it was started by 2 individuals that said that they used misleading promotional material in purchasing their tickets. And let's be honest, Messi was all over this promotional material.
Yep.
As any star is in any game, in any league since leagues began. but apparently
in any sport.
Apparently this particular one matters beyond all other, hundreds of thousands of matches that have ever taken place. So there's that. Now, yes, 450,000 is going to be going to 3 different charities: Kids Sport BC, Canada Scores, and the BGC South Coast BC. All going to be recipients of the money. You know what? If you're going to do it and the money goes to charities, fine. But this is one of those things where this separates people who come to the game to watch as a fan and people who come to the game to watch for an Instagram moment.
I think,
that's what Instagram this was. This is sports stupidity to a new low.
Yeah, and I can't believe this is what they're using our judiciary system for when we got more serious stuff, to worry about. And
I'm not worried about that. It's civil and not criminal, so civil can be used for whatever people want it to be.
Yeah, but it's
the thing that surprises me is that this wasn't laughed at in the courtroom and then thrown out.
It should have been, because this is so stupid. And it goes to show that this person, whoever filed this, is entitled, is whiny, is a crybaby, and it just is a waste of everyone's time. And again, it goes to show that in sports, star players playing is not guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed.
We also have to remember that in this season, Messi had played less than 50% of the games already in the calendar. So a 5-second Google search should have told you there's a big chance of this not happening. On top of it, clubs don't get agency over players of completely different teams. He can decide to show, he can decide not to show. That's part of his contract, and he doesn't need to give a reason. We know he wasn't injured. We know that there was bad faith by Miami in only telling the Whitecaps about 24 hours before the game he wasn't showing. I mean, they could have nipped a lot of this in the bud a lot earlier, give him a week notice and say, hey, look, this ain't happening. You have a chance now to, I don't know, if people want refunds, they can get refunds. But there's so many ways this could have been stopped beforehand.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of it was just taken out of their hands. So the fact that they're having to pay this money, like I said, it's going to charity.
Yeah, at least there's that.
But if the fact that this happened in the first place,
it should have never happened.
It's just sheer stupidity.
Yeah. And we all remember that day when Messi had his no-show and how people were angry and entitled and whiny.
But do you remember the game? The anger in the stadium lasted about 30 seconds when the supporters put out their tifo, and all of a sudden everyone was on the same page. The anger was manufactured. It ended as soon as the ball dropped.
Yeah. And it was out of the Whitecaps' hands anyway that, Messi City opposing team player. And of course, many that showed up weren't really Whitecaps fans anyway, but all's well that ends well, because the following year Messi did show up and got he and his team beaten by the Whitecaps in Champions Cup.
Yeah.
Hey, who knows? Maybe he'll show up later this year for MLS Cup.
Speaking of Lionel Messi, Inter Miami was involved in a friendly match, kind of an odd time to do a friendly when you're already partway into your season. Now, this was a match against Ecuadorian club Independiente de Valle. It was taking place in Puerto Rico.
And Pedro Vite's old clubs.
Yeah, it was taking place in Puerto Rico. This was a match that was supposed to happen in the preseason. It was postponed because Messi was dealing with a hamstring injury, and obviously he was the draw. So they decided to play this game partway through the season because, he's now healthy. Yep. And he ends up getting tackled by a pitch invader. So I don't know. Now this is a match that had problems to begin with. I don't know if you get a chance, you can take a look at
it. Was
this match. I dare you to be able to figure out which team is which, because this game was postponed for an hour because both teams wanted to wear their black kits. And after an hour, nothing was still solved. They did wear their black kits, and you can't tell the difference between what team is on which side.
Like the USA-Slovakia hockey game where they both
exactly the same, right? Exactly like that. Also makes you wonder, Messi's bodyguard, who's known for racing onto pitches anytime a pitch invader comes on. I don't know. Was he having a coffee and donut at the time?
Maybe. Yeah, the whole thing. Like,
Yeah. Again, it's one of those matches that, if it got postponed for this reason, again, it shouldn't have happened. The reason why you were having this match wasn't for Messi. It was to warm up. It was a preseason match. This is to benefit everyone on your team. I don't know.
yeah,
I get it. He's still the show pony of MLS.
well, yeah. I mean, he's like I don't know, like a creature you see at an aquarium,
Kind of, right?
like the beluga whale or whatever. Uh, this was supposed to be a preseason game anyway, so it's just weird. I know they postponed it, but it's just still weird that they have it in the middle of Inter Miami season.
Yeah, this was a pitch invasion. It happened in like the 88th minute, and it was a whole bunch of people that actually rushed the pitch when Messi scored. So I guess that could be why, you can't grab everyone. But yeah. Anyway, it kind of feels like the league will settle down and kind of get back to some sort of normalcy once the clown show is done. But who knows?
Who knows? As long as Messi's around, I think we'll still have stories like this and the lawsuit.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go back to Vancouver. The World Cup is 99 days away. Can you believe it? And TransLink, our big public transit company here, has unveiled a massive World Cup plan for public transit use, which includes overhauling SkyTrain access on match days.
Yeah. I mean, this has to happen. My guess is that it's part of the deal with FIFA coming here. I mean, we've all seen the maps that have been published throughout media of all the street closures that's going to happen, the security gates and all that. So I think this is just part and parcel of that. It's going to cause chaos for people who don't care about football. You're going to be pissed. Mildly, I hate to say it.
Chaos for people who have no sense of.
You're probably going to be pissed, but you've been given 100 days notice. Start making your plans.
So Stadium Chinatown won't be closed, but they'll close off access to BC Place. I guess it's for crowd, to prevent crowd congestion. So if you want to walk to BC Place, you have to get off at Main Street Science World and walk along what they're calling the last mile. I mean, it's a nice walk, but it takes a bit of time still.
And I'm guessing at that point, Stadium Station is just going to be completely shut.
Yeah, there will be no direct access from Stadium Station on match days. So, here's the last mile for those watching. You walk here past Quebec Street under the viaduct. There's the entrance. So, no Stadium Station. And then
have they made notice of where the buses?
There'll be a lot of buses.
People off because you're going to have all those buses that are going to be coming from the fan zone.
I'm trying to see here.
600 extra buses.
They did saying about buses that go from other SkyTrain stations to the fan zone at the PNE. So, like, this is my closest 129. They have a little FIFA Express.
Okay.
You got one from. You can take the R5. Just saying for those heads up. Going down the R5 downtown East Hastings, you're in for a horrible sight. And there's buses from the North Shore. So, and they're also going to increase like SkyTrain, SeaBus, West Coast Express, and all that.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's nice that they're publishing a plan this early. It's just going to be a matter of, are people going to read it?
you know what people these days. Some people will, get off at Stadium, then they'll be like, "Oh, why isn't there access to BC Place from here?" Even though the plan is,
I wonder. Yeah. My hope is that there's also going to be a massive amount of signage around.
I mean, they have to.
People, yeah.
They did that during the.
The plan is out, so no excuses.
Similar to what they did during the Winter Olympics when it was here, and apparently they first trialed this during the Taylor Swift Eras Tour concerts.
Oh, did they? I mean, I guess that's probably a good time to trial it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is like their big "let's go" moment. So
Sounds good.
that's the transit plans for the World Cup here in Vancouver. Speaking of World Cup, the Canadian women's national team is back in action, preparing for the next Women's World Cup and the 2028 LA Olympics. And finally a win. Finally some goals too, because Canada has been struggling as of late, and they have not scored a goal since June of last year. And
Yeah.
they scored 4 in this game.
This was finally good. The nice thing is this is also the first match of the She Believes Cup. So it puts Canada in a good position in a very difficult group. Canada's in a group with the United States, Argentina, and Colombia, who they just recorded their win against. So very, very much needed win in order to get out of this group.
Yeah, it's good that the offense, the attack, it's back. And, Vanessa Jill, she's a defender, but she can score goals. Because the first goal of the game, Janine Sonis with the corner, Jill scores. That's her specialty. Sonis did score one herself. Great free kick from the outside of the box. And then Sydney Collins gets a tap in after the original shot went off the crossbar. And nice to see Nichelle Prince score as well.
Yeah.
But other than giving up the penalty, the back four did really well. And with Gabrielle Carr, Jade Rose, Sonis, and Jills. And Jessie Fleming had her best game for Canada in a long time.
Absolutely. They will play their second match actually today. It'll be at 3:45 our time where they play the United States. So
yeah, that's going to be
kind of the most difficult competition coming up here right away.
Yeah. Nice, last game with Fleming and Emma Reagan together. And Hollywood Ward even got a start against Colombia. Let's see if she starts today. So hopefully the women continue to improve, but they got tough competition with the United States. Big news for the CPL. So this upcoming season, they're going to introduce the Arsene Wenger offside rule as part of a trial for FIFA and IFAB. So that's the new offside rule Wenger proposed, where in order to be offside, your body has to completely be offside, where it's usually just a finger or a foot.
So the problem with offsides and VAR is the fact that everyone is where you draw the line, and you splitting the differences of like, you're just a little bit over or whatnot. So here's the problem with this: you're still drawing a line.
Exactly.
Not only that, but correct me if I'm wrong, CPL doesn't use VAR.
They do not.
So why are you testing something in order to stop offside issues in VAR in a league
when you don't have VAR?
That doesn't have VAR? I don't understand what the point of this is. One, it doesn't solve anything. And two, the ability to test it can't be done where you're testing it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this could fail miserably or go really well. No in between.
I don't understand. Like you're still drawing a line because you're still taking a look as did the body get all the way past the defending body? Oh no, there's still a toe. I'm okay. Either way, you're still going to be, looking at those fine margins. But you can't do that in this league anyway.
With no VAR, unless, as I said,
but testing in the league where you can actually do the job. This makes no sense to me. It's I don't know.
I feel like this could last. I feel like this is destined to fail miserably.
Well,
and if this does,
I have nothing else to say in except that this, it absolutely makes no sense.
And if this does somehow get approved, and this is like approved everywhere, the game is really gonna go back to like low block, counter-attacking football. No more high lines.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have defensive lines sitting back like crazy, right?
Yeah, so Harambol is gonna be like, if this ever gets improved, amplified.
It's gonna be watching hockey and watching Minnesota in the late 90s.
Yeah, or I guess Minnesota today is a little more exciting, but still.
They're not Jacques Demers, Minnesota. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, at least Kirill Kaprizov and Quinn Hughes make them.
Yeah.
So
fine.
I don't know.
Testing it. I don't see this. They're not going to be able to test anything. That's the problem. Is what they're testing can't be done in this specific league.
If there is VAR, fine. But if there's no VAR,
you think every single stadium is all of a sudden going to pay the money to retrofit themselves?
Yeah. And oh god, like what with this rule, one team is going to park the bus per game. It's going to make like Haramball parking the bus even more like good for coaches.
I feel like I've had a problem with this whole idea since Arsene Wenger first proposed it because it didn't make sense to me.
I liked it at first, but then the more I looked at it,
you're still drawing a line. There's still an offside, right? If you're making an offside, you're still saying someone either is or isn't. There is still a binary decision to be made. But at this point, you're still relying on a referee's eye. The reason why they wanted to bring this in is to try and cut down the whole idea of like these fine margins. Well, those fine margins can only be decided by one thing, and that one thing doesn't exist in CPL. I'm repeating myself because it's so audaciously stupid, but I have nothing else to say. It's stupid.
Well, we'll see where this goes with the upcoming CPL season. All right, let's move over to Europe. So speaking of bad games, speaking of Haramball, this game was the epitome of it. All goals between Chelsea and Arsenal were scored from corner kicks. Game's gone. I mean, nothing wrong with set-piece goals, but when all of them are scored from corner kicks, that's a problem. And not just Chelsea, even Arsenal's attack wasn't the greatest. I'll get it out of the way that the ref did miss 2 penalties on Chelsea where David Raya punched Joao Pedro in the head. He was okay, thankfully, and then Pedro was also grabbed by one of the defenders, but it eventually did lead to the goal. The own goal scored by Piero Hincapié. So, I don't know. I'm not really going to complain about the ref too much, but this game was just awful. So, Saliba and Timber score from the corner kicks for Arsenal. And Chelsea's attack, nothing. Cole Palmer just doesn't look like himself again. And guess what happened with Chelsea? Another red card. And another dumb one. So Pedro Neto was on a yellow.
Are you leading the league in red cards?
I think it's by a country mile.
Okay.
And then he sees Martinelli and tries to go like Karate Kid on him by like clipping him. Easy red. Well, I don't know what he was thinking there. Oh, I think that's the theme of the season. What are some of these players thinking? Rosenior talked about it and said that he's starting to like crack down on it. But if you ask the Chelsea board, according to inside sources, no, we're good. We don't have a disciplinary problem. Yes, you do. When you're leading the league in red cards by a country mile, and most of them were due to stupid ones. It's just so awful. Because under the Chelsea of old, this would have never happened. And and they're all preventable. Like, why are you clipping the guy when you're already on a yellow? Like, maybe we lost. I'm gonna go take a shower. See ya. Mentality problem with this squad. And that's what happens when you have a squad with little to no leaders.
Yeah.
It's all a bunch of kids. Great squad planning, Clear Lake. So, I guess the only positives from this game were Moises Caicedo, Trevor Chalobah, and Reece James. Who, all three were doing well defensively, and Reece James was like carrying the attack with his crosses. Since he joined Chelsea, 213 games played, 16 goals for, 30 assists, 46 goal contributions. One of the best right backs in the world, if not the best. Former Chelsea player, former Ballon d'Or winner, Dutch legend, Ruud Gullit, he spoke about this Chelsea-Arsenal game, and it pretty much broke him, in a way. Here's what he said. Let me just try to find the quote. Here. I've decided to stop watching football. I no longer take pleasure in our sport. I watched Arsenal against Chelsea. What an absolutely poor match. Talks about players trying to force corners, throw-ins. Football has become horrible, and he wants to see players like take on defenders like Lamine Yamal. They miss the joy no longer plays in football. Where are the players who dribble? Where are the players with balls? I mean, he's not wrong. It's becoming a very different sport, football.
I think this is a lot of the complaints that you also had from people like Arne Slot earlier this week about the increased reliance on set pieces. I'm not really too sure how you cut that, though.
But yeah, I mean, complaining that when his team lost to last place Wolves.
Yeah.
And Wolves are just trying to ruin everyone's season now that they're going to eventually get relegated. But yeah, what an absolute slog of a game Arsenal beat Chelsea was. And there are players that, take on defenders and stuff, like Lamine Yamal, Ryan Cherky, Cole Palmer when he's fit, Michael Olise, to name a few, even Vinicius as well, Toma. Those are good players to, that captured the football joy of old. But this whole, rely on set piece thing, yeah, it's just killing the game in a way. So Chelsea played today, over an hour from when we're recording this, against Aston Villa. And this is big regarding the race for Champions League football. It's a must-win for Chelsea because they currently sit in 6th, Aston Villa in 4th. And thanks to Liverpool losing to Wolves today, Chelsea have a chance to go back into the top 5. So it's, Champions League is looking dire for Chelsea. And another day, another loss for Spurs.
Yeah. They still haven't won this calendar year. I don't know what to tell you. The only funny thing that's kind of out of this is Igor Tudor is now on a hot seat after only 2 matches. He was brought in to make an instant impact. It hasn't happened. Word on the street is 1 more loss and he's gone. Could be the shortest serving manager there is, and with 0 wins. So who knows? We'll have to wait to see. One interesting thing is Spurs have now officially written to the Professional Game Match Officials Limited, PGMOL, for those who know the acronym. The chief of that is former referee Howard Webb. Spurs are basically just complaining of inconsistent refereeing, inconsistent decisions, that they believe that they have been on the wrong side of the majority of these throughout the season. This feels more like trying to deflect attention away from all the other problems that are happening at the club, of which there are many. So I don't think this is really worth the paper that it's been printed on.
Yeah.
But it's out there. In other news, Spurs are looking at the possibility of a new sporting director. I don't know. I'm guessing it would be probably another co-sporting director role, kind of what Johan Lang had with Paratici when he was here. They're looking at two individuals. I can't remember the names. One of them, actually, I believe, is the assistant with Chelsea right now.
And we're looking at Paul Wood-Stanley. Please take him.
Yeah.
So go by. He could take his buddy, Lord Stewart, too.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's happening.
Yeah.
Wood-Stanley doesn't want to leave.
Well, a lot of Spurs players do want to leave, and that's definitely the one thing out there. The most notable that seems to have 1.5 feet out the door already is Mickey Van de Ven.
Yeah.
Big interest from Barcelona. That's not to say that Real Madrid still is in the hunt as well, but it does look more likely. If they get relegated, then it's an absolute. He's gone, along with a number of other players, but we'll have to wait to see. And speaking of a potential relegation, it has come out that Spurs players do have a clause within their contracts that relegation would lead to a 50% wage reduction in player salaries. So that is in their contracts, something that Leicester players did not have, and they're feeling the hurt a bit right now in the championship. I guess that's a saving grace when you're looking at kind of what the worst case scenario could be is not going to be the worst case scenario. It's still just going to be absolutely horrible. I don't have anything good to say. And I haven't had anything good to say in a long time.
I mean, we have bad things to say about our clubs for different reasons.
It hurts.
Yeah, yours is just
it hurts, but there's the expectation that more hurt is coming.
Yeah.
And the stupidity to know that I'm not going to change.
Yeah, and we'll see where it goes for Spurs. So as you all know, by now, Iran, was, I guess, attacked or, thanks for from the U.S. and Israel and all that. The Ayatollah is now dead and all that. But what this means for football, Iran is likely out of the World Cup, which, of course, all their games will take place in the United States. I think one or two is in Seattle. They're likely out of the World Cup due to these recent attacks. And U.S. President Donald Trump, I don't care for it. Is it 2026 World Cup?
Yeah. The logistics of bringing the team here is now very, very much up in question. Obviously, the head of Iran's football federation has said that it's pretty much an untenuous situation in order to bring even just the team and just the coaches, which is all they would have been allowed to bring anyway, being that no one else could get a visa for these matches. What does it mean for World Cup? So it sounds like the next team on the list from the Asian Federation could have been Iraq, but that might not be happening because Iraq, I believe, is part of the playoff matches that are set to be happening later on this month. So who's going to take that spot once you take a look and kind of deal with all the play-ins? My guess is it's not going to be decided until those play-in matches or playoff matches are complete. And then they're going to have to figure it out after that. But it will be another team from Asia.
Hey, Philippines. Not happening, but
yeah.
Could you imagine? But
that'd be something. Yeah. It would give you a split loyalties to cheer for, hey?
Yeah. I wouldn't mind at all. But
the chance of Philippines and Canada playing against one another is probably really unlikely. So it would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be. But Philippines being in the World Cup is unlikely.
Yeah.
Given how poor the football is, but goes to show another gong show having the World Cup this year, mostly in the United States, given all the political stuff. Donald Trump called Iran a defeated country, so I'll see where we'll see where this goes.
Yeah.
One last thing here. IFAB has approved the MLS-style injury waiting time issues, so that it allows time limits for substitutions and forced exchanges, and for possession and time wasting. So they're limiting time wasting.
Yeah, so this is a lot of things that they want to test actually at this upcoming World Cup. They had their annual general meeting in Wales just recently, and so they've brought in a number of changes. One is that if there is a throw-in or a goal kick that is taking too long or it kind of is deliberately being delayed for some reason, the referee can initiate a 5-second visual countdown, holding their hands up, doing the 5. If the play does not restart in those 5 seconds, the referee can remove possession from whichever team had it and give the ball to the other team. Throw-ins will be awarded the other way. Delayed goal kicks will be punished with a corner. So, I mean, that could be quite significant, especially, us just talking about corners in other matches and how much stronger that they've become. They're basically trying to discourage goalkeepers from holding onto the ball unnecessarily and waiting. Players in substitutions will have 10 seconds to leave the pitch once the fourth official's board is shown. If they do not leave within 10 seconds, the replacement player is going to have to wait an extra minute before they're allowed to come back onto the pitch, which means that the one team will be down
for an extra minute.
Yeah, because they're still going to wait for the one guy to leave the pitch anyway, right? We've also talked about the fact of the MLS style rule of injuries on the pitch, where if trainers need to come out or anything like that, other than a head injury, that player is going to have to leave the pitch and stay out for 1 minute at least as well. So it's coming. Like I said, World Cup is going to be used as a bit of a testing venue. And then from there, we'll have to see if other leagues decide to adopt the rule. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, because time wasting has definitely always been an issue when you have.
And I like it.
Run clock.
Especially
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. I think it's going to cause chaos.
Yeah.
At least at the beginning, especially not necessarily the sub changes, but the ones where there's a change in possession. I think that could lead to a lot of early problems. But I kind of hope that they stick with it.
MLS
and see if it gets adopted. Yeah.
And it's done well in MLS. So we got less players in MLS taking their sweet time getting off the pitch when being substituted.
Yeah, right.
So it worked in MLS. Hopefully it works else everywhere else.
We'll have to wait and see.
So that'll conclude this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong and all that. Twitter, JoshuaRay00, Nathan and Derek, podcast at Terminal City FC. We're also on Blue Sky, Instagram, and YouTube. And check out all our articles for Area 51 Sports Network. NHL trend deadlines come down, so there'll probably be articles on that by others. Whitecaps in Portland, we'll be covering that. We'll be back next week talking about that. And the Champions Cup action, we'll preview that against Seattle and the Minnesota game. So yeah, we'll be back next week talking all things football. Hopefully, Whitecaps with another win this weekend.
Hopefully.
So that concludes this week's episode. Peace out.
Take care.